Hello students. We all know that food is very important for the human population to survive. But what if the food is spoiled or unsafe for the consumption? The same food becomes poison for you and therefore is responsible for the death of the human population. Today we are here to learn about the contamination of the food, which is specifically the canned food and the seafood. We will learn how this food is contaminated and who are the factors or what are the factors which are responsible for this contamination. Though we do not have any data regarding the time, the place and the experiments to show that how the microbes are related with the food, but we have an evidence or we can figure out the first person who showed the role of the microorganisms for the spoilage of the food. And the first person who showed the role of microbes for the spoilage of the food is a monk called Kircher. In 1658, he suggested the role of the microorganisms in the decaying bodies and also in many food matter. Later on, in 1765, Spallanzani showed by his experiments that if the beef broth is heated for an hour, sealed, and then he looked upon the broth, he said that the broth remains sterile. There is no growth of the microorganism. So this is how the signs of spoilage of the food took place. Now what exactly is spoilage then? If I define the word spoilage, then I would say it is a disagreeable change in the color, in the smell, in the aroma and in the sight of the food. The food which is contaminated gives you a disgusting sight and therefore no one is able to consume it and therefore it becomes unsafe for our consumption. If we maintain the quality of the food, it is a good food and then we refer it to the food safety. Let us learn about the main causes of the food spoilage. Now the food spoilage can be done with the help of two important things. Either it is an enzymatic spoilage or it is a microbial spoilage. So first let us learn about the enzymatic spoilage. The enzymatic spoilage refers to the phenomena or the process where the enzymes which are indigenously present in the food gets activated and therefore destroys the food and makes the food spoil. Now we can find out a very common example. The fruits and the vegetables, after they are being harvested, the decomposition in the polysaccharide composition take place. As a result of the decomposition of the polysaccharide, the sweet taste keeps on decreasing. Also we find that the protopectin which is there starts decomposing and it is converted to pectin. This pectin release is related to the softening of the tissue and therefore the over-maturation or the ripening of the fruits or the vegetables takes place. Also we find that sometimes there are mechanical factors which are responsible for the spoilage during transportation, during handling or during storage. As a result of this, the membranes are disrupted and when the membranes are disrupted, the polyphenols are activated. Along with that, there are certain enzymes which are oxidized and this results in the browning process when the fruits and the vegetables appear brown and therefore appear to us as the spoiled food. Then what is microbial spoilage? Now microbial spoilage is the spoilage which is caused by the microorganisms. These microorganisms can be bacteria, can be mold or fungi. Now microbial spoilage is dependent upon two important factors. Number one is the kind or the type of microorganism that is present in the food, along with another factor that is the composition of the food. Say for example, you have a food item which is heavy or which is having a heavy amount of carbohydrate or a sugar content. Now along with that food, if you have a contamination with the lipolytic bacteria, that means those bacteria which are able to degrade the fats and the oils but not the sugar. At that time, you will not have the contamination of the food. On the other hand, if you have the presence of the sugar content in the food along with the presence of the saccharolytic bacteria, they can metabolize the sugar content. As a result, the bacteria will grow and it will spoil the food. So, presence of the type of bacteria along with the composition of the food is responsible to bring out the microbial spoilage of the food. Now, let us see a few processes. We say a process called putrefaction. In the case of putrefaction, we find that the food which is rich in protein is degraded with the help of the microorganisms which are called the proteolytic microorganism, because they produce protease enzyme which is able to metabolize the protein which is present in the food. And as a result, we have production of amino acids, amines, ammonia and hydrogen sulfide gas. You might have encountered that when the eggs are rotten or when the meat, fish, the products which are rich in protein gets rotten or spoiled, it gives a very foul smell. Now, this foul smell is because of the production of ammonia and hydrogen sulfide, because the protein is being degraded by the proteolytic microorganisms. And these microorganisms could be very well seen in a Petri plate, because if you take a substrate which is having a heavy amount of protein, we will find that as the bacteria grows, you will find the transparent zone showing the protein which is present in the media has been utilized by the microbes. The second process of spoilage is called the fermentation. This totally happens in the case of the food which has got high amount of carbohydrate. If the carbohydrate food is subjected or it is exposed along with the saccharolytic microorganism, that means the saccharolytic microorganisms attack a carbohydrate rich food, then you have the process of fermentation, and as a result of this fermentation process, we have the production of organic acids, alcohol and gases. These organic acids can be propionic acid, it can be butyric acid, it can be acetic acid. So, when different type of acids are produced in such a food, the food takes a sour taste and therefore not fit for the consumption. Coming on to other technique of or the other process of the spoilage is rancidity. Now, rancidity is referring to a process of spoilage of the food which is having a heavy amount of fat, and as a result it is attacked by the lipolytic microorganism and you have the production of fatty acids and glycerols. Here we find in this picture the media is rich in fat, and when the microorganism grow in this media, we find the clear zone of metabolizing the fats which is present in the media. Whatever the food spoilage is, whether it's a microbial spoilage or whether it's an enzymatic spoilage, the consequences of the food spoilage are as follows. There's a change in the nutritional value. Why? Because you have the decomposition of the protein, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals. So obviously the nutritive value of the food changes. There's change in the organoleptic features. There's a change in the color, in the taste, in the flavor, in the consistency. Sometimes you might have seen that there is production of mucilaginous substances, or there may be production of unpleasant odor. Now all this is related to the organoleptic features. Also, there is unwholesome effect which refers to the production of biogenic amines or the toxins or different type of the metabolites that are produced by the microorganism becomes harmful for the human life to survive. Now let us learn about the spoilage of the canned foods. Now when we refer to the canned foods, that means we are referring to the process of canning. Now process of canning refers when we pack the food item, whether it is a fruit, vegetable or flesh, we pack them inside the metallic container, and these metallic container along with the food item which is going to be preserved is subjected to a high temperature after sealing, and therefore it increases the shelf life of the food. Now if this canning process is not properly done, you may have the contamination. This canning process is normally done at a temperature of 115 degrees Celsius for 25 to 100 minutes. But it is not necessary that all the microbes will be killed during this process. Then how the food gets contaminated? There are three different stages of contamination of this type of food. The first stage is when the food which is packed inside the metal containers or the cans, it is already being spoiled. We call it the spoilage prior to canning. The second stage may be undercooking. Sometimes the cooked food is put inside the container and then it is sealed. Now this undercooking, if takes place, then the food which is going to be sealed or preserved for a longer time will be spoiled. And the third stage is when there is a contaminated water which gets inside the cans. Now these cans can be leaked cans, and when they are leaked, you have the water which is used for the cooling process gets inside this can, and as a result you have the contamination of the food. The spoilage of the canned food therefore can take place, and we can have the non-microbial spoilage or we can have the microbial spoilage. Now let us learn what is the difference between the two. If it is a non-microbial spoilage, that means we are referring to the chemical reactions which takes into account the production of the hydrogen gas, carbon dioxide gas and the corrosion of the cans. So everything which is going on, it's a chemical reaction. It also takes into account the enzymatic reaction. That means some enzymes are getting activated inside the food, and therefore you refer to the process of liquefaction, gelation or decoloration of the products. However, the microbial spoilage refers to the inadequate cooling after heating or high temperature storage. So this high temperature which is given during the process of canning, and immediately after high temperature they are subjected to the cooling temperature. Now if cooling of this material does not take place adequately, then you have the contamination. You have the growth of the thermophilic spore formers. Thermophilic spore formers means the bacteria which are able to survive at a high temperature, and they are able to form the spores, and therefore they remain in such food. There is inadequate heating resulting in survival and growth of the mesophilic bacteria. Inadequate heating during the heating process or during the canning process, when the temperature of 115 degrees should be given, it is not given. Suppose it is given at a temperature of 100 degrees, then some mesophilic bacteria are able to survive. Or the third case can be the leakage in the can. These leakages are microscopic leakages, and therefore the industry is not able to find these leakages, and through these leakages the microbe can get inside the cans, and therefore you have the growth of the microbes. Then what are thermophilic spore formers? The thermophilic spore formers are the one which take the opportunity if proper temperature or heating does not take place. The spoilage which is encountered during this thermophilic spore formers can be of three different types. Number one is the flat sour spoilage. In this type of spoilage, the cans or the metal containers where the food is packed, they do not swell. However, you have the production of the acidic components due to growth of anaerobic bacteria, which is Bacillus staurothmermophilus. Now, Bacillus staurothmermophilus ferments carbohydrate to produce acids, but without the production of the gas. As a result, the containers do not swell up. However, in the second type of spoilage, which is referred to as the TA spoilage, that is the thermophilic anaerobe spoilage. In this case, there is a growth of another anaerobic bacteria, which is Clostridium thermosaccharolyticum. Now, this bacteria produces heavy amount of hydrogen gas and carbon dioxide gas. And as a result of this production of the gas, there is swelling of the cans. So, the cans which are filled with the food, you can very well make out because the cans get swelled up. The third type of spoilage is referred to as the sulfide stinker spoilage. In this case, we find the gram-negative bacteria grows, which is a spore former, and this is Desulfotomaculum nigrificans. Now, this bacteria is responsible for the spoilage, and it is mainly responsible for the spoilage of the H2S or spoilage of the rotten eggs, which is due to the production of the hydrogen sulfide gas. The spoilage may also take place due to insufficient heating. We have already learned about this. Now, what happens is, due to insufficient heating, the microorganism like Clostridium botulinum may grow, which produces a toxin which is called the botulinum toxin, which results in the flaccid paralysis. However, there may be growth of the proteolytic bacteria, that means those bacteria which are able to produce proteases, and as a result, we have the production of the foul smelling H2S gas, mercaptans, indoles, ammonia, carbon dioxide and hydrogen, and this results in the swelling of the can. Spoilage may also take place due to leakage of the containers. The leakage of the containers takes place during the transportation process or during the packaging of the food material inside the container, and as a result of this, the contamination with the pathogen takes place. Here you find the microscopic leakage which is there in the containers. Whatever happens during the spoilage process ultimately leads to the disease, and we call them the microbial foodborne diseases. Now, this microbial foodborne diseases can be studied under three different patterns. Number one is intoxication. Intoxication, that means the toxin is going to be ingested. Now, this ingestion of the toxin takes place because the toxin is present in the food. There is no need of viable cell in the food because the cells or the microbial cells which were present in the food has already produced a toxin, and that toxin is now present in the food. So, no need of viable cells, but the toxin causes the intoxication. The infection refers to the contamination or the spoilage of the food where the viable cells are present. This is normally seen in the case of salmonellosis, where the salmonella bacteria is present, and this bacteria remains alive for a much longer time and therefore cause the dysentery or the diarrhea. And the third pattern of the disease that we find is called the toxico-infection. In the case of toxico-infection, we find that the ingestion of the large number of viable cells takes place. Now, these viable cells generally sporulate or they die, and during their death, they may release the toxin. So, toxico-infection refers to the viable cell in addition to the toxin that may be present in the food item, which is normally seen in the case of Bacillus cereus gastroenteritis. So, foodborne disease can be categorized into poisoning or infection. The poisoning can be chemical poisoning or it can be intoxication. If it is intoxication, then it can be poisonous plant tissue, poisonous animal tissue, or it can be microbial intoxication. The microbial intoxication may be due to the algal toxin, mycotoxins, that is the toxins which are coming out from the fungus, or it can be due to the bacterial toxins. And the bacterial toxins are mainly found to be of two types. They are neurotoxins or enterotoxins. Neurotoxins which cause the paralysis, and the enterotoxins which cause or which destroy the gastrointestinal tract of the human. Now we are going to learn about the spoilage of the seafood. Now, seafood basically refers to the animal life that is growing in the sea. That is the fish, the crustaceans and the mollusks. And let us learn that how these can spoil the food items. The composition of the seafood, especially the fish, is very important because there are some responsible bacteria which can cause the spoilage of the fish but cannot cause the spoilage of the crustaceans. The composition of the fish or the seafood as a whole has got high amount of protein. It has got the carbohydrate content of the seafood, which is fish, is nil. Therefore, we had high amount of protein but no carbohydrate in fish. The fat content may be very low or it can be very high depending upon the species of the fish which is consumed, and there is non-protein nitrogen compound. The non-protein nitrogen compound refers to the free amino acids, the volatile nitrogen bases such as ammonia and trimethylamine, creatine, taurine, betanes, uric acid, anserine, then you have histamine. Now, the spoilage of this fish can be by bacteria or it can be by fungus. The bacteria spoils the fresh fish. However, the fungus spoils the salted and the dry fish. The susceptible part of the fish for spoilage is the gills, the portion which is used for the respiration of the fishes, because this portion is coming in contact with the water, and from here the microbes can get inside. Also, the slime layer which is present on the outer integument can be infected, and the skin and the scales are the last portion of the fish which is normally infected. The trimethylamine oxide, creatine, taurine, anserine and other related compound are converted to trimethylamine, ammonia, indole and other compounds during the spoilage of the fish. We can find the production of different compounds during this spoilage, and these are the evidences which show that this fish is spoiled. For example, the histidine which is present in the fish with the help of an enzyme which is called decarboxylase gets converted to histamine. On the other hand, the tyrosine gets converted to tyramine, or the trimethylamine oxide is converted to trimethylamine. So, production of these compounds show that the fish is spoiled. The spoiler bacteria can be Pseudomonas fluorescens, Pseudomonas fragile, Acinetobacter, or it can be the Shevanella putrefacens. You can see Shevanella putrefacens affecting the skin and the scales of the fish. It can be Morozella also, which infects the fish in such a way that the fish loses its shape. The shellfish is another seafood which is consumed in many countries. Now this shellfish takes into account the crustaceans and the mollusk. The crustaceans have got high amount of free amino acids. There is about 0.5% of carbohydrate and they have got high amount of nitrogenous compound. And in shellfish like crustaceans, we have the conversion of tyrosine to tyramine because of the decarboxylase. The spoiler bacteria in this case is Pseudomonas, Morozella, which is dominating variety at 5.6 degrees Celsius and 11.1 degrees Celsius. So, at a very low temperature, Morozella can spoil the food. Also, the protease can spoil the food at a little elevated temperature of 16.7 to 22.2 degrees Celsius. The last type of sea fish that we are going to learn is the mollusk. Now, these mollusks have got high amount of carbohydrate which is present mainly in the form of glycogen. It has got low nitrogen and free arginine, aspartic acid and glutamic acid is found in the case of mollusk. The spoiler bacteria of mollusk is Serratia, Pseudomonas, Proteus, Clostridium, Bacillus, Escherichia, Enterobacter, Shevanella. So, lot many spoiler bacteria is there which may spoil the mollusk, which is a seafood. So, all these shows that the seafood, canned food or any fresh fruits and vegetables can be spoiled by the bacteria. But it depends upon the composition of the food and also the kind of bacteria which is going to contaminate. Because if the substrate is present in the food and that particular respective microorganism comes and gets in contact with the food will be spoiled. However, if that microorganism is not coming in contact with a particular substrate, the food will not be spoiled. Whatever the type of spoilage is, we should always take care and maintain the quality of the food because the food is the one which is necessary for our survival. Thank you.